Imagine the rough bite of rope cutting into your wrists, the cold dread of being completely powerless, and the sound of 5 people laughing at your fear. That was the moment when one cruel afternoon turned into something far darker until one man arrived, bringing with him a power those bullies could never have imagined. The small town of Oak Creek was unusually still that Tuesday. Thick gray clouds pressed low over the sky, and the air behind the high school athletic fields hung heavy, expectant. Normally, this place was filled with students running laps or tossing footballs, but now, it was quiet, too quiet. 5 teenagers in blue and yellow varsity jackets stood in a loose circle beneath an ancient oak tree, their movements casual but cruel. At the center of their taunting laughter was a girl named Ara, 19, new to town, quiet. Her long brown hair partly covered a thin scar running down her cheek, a mark from another life, one no one here cared to ask about. Brad, their ringleader, smiled like a predator. His blonde hair gleamed in the dull light as he tapped a wooden bat against his palm. "Think you are too good for us, Scar?" he sneered. Ara said nothing. Her head hung low, her voice small and steady. "Please, don't." Her plea only made them laugh harder. One of the boys, Mike, pulled a thick coil of rope from his backpack. It wasn't a prank anymore, it was planned. A few hundred yards away, a dark blue police SUV rolled slowly down the gravel road. Chief Ben Carter was behind the wheel, taking the long route back to the station after a quiet day of paperwork. Oak Creek was supposed to be peaceful, predictable, but when he glanced toward the field, something made him stop. He raised his binoculars. At first, he saw only the oak tree and the students gathered beneath it. Then he saw the rope, then he saw the girl. Her face came into focus and the world stopped moving. It wasn't just a girl, it was his daughter. The air vanished from his lungs. The scar on her fascia, the one he'd seen every day since the accident that took his wife, glimmered faintly in the light. In an instant, his heart turned to fire, then to ice. Every instinct screamed for vengeance, but decades of training forced the rage into focus. He didn't turn on his siren, he didn't flash his lights, he simply drove forward, silent and deliberate. Back at the oak, Brad was still smirking, lifting the bat to tilt Ara's chin up. "Heard you came from a tough place," he taunted. "Doesn't look that way to me." Then one of the girls, Chloe, lowered her phone mid-recording. "You have broken bar, guys?" she said nervously. "Someone's coming." A dark blue SUV was crossing the field, slow, steady, unstoppable. Their laughter died at once. "It's just Miller," Brad muttered. "Relax. My dad plays golf with him." But even he didn't sound sure. The SUV stopped 20 feet away. The door opened. Chief Carter stepped out. His uniform was crisp, his face unreadable. His eyes were pure steel. He didn't look at the group, not at first. He went straight to the tree. When Ara saw him, her breath hitched. Relief and fear collided in her chest. Broken bar," she whispered. Ben's hands worked quickly, methodically, untying the rope. His voice was calm. "I'm here, baby. You're safe now." The ropes fell away. She collapsed into his arms, shaking. He held her close, his jaw tight, his fury silent. Then his gaze lifted to Brad. The look that passed between them was enough to make every one of those kids freeze. After securing Ara in his SUV, wrapped safely in a blanket, Chief Carter turned back toward the group. The warmth in him was gone. "Names," he said coldly. No one moved. "Your names." They stammered one by Onia. "Brad Wilson, Mike Reynolds, Jake Peterson, Chloe Miller, Sarah Jones." He didn't write them down. He didn't have to. "You understand what you've done?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Unlawful restraint, assault, terroristic threats. These aren't pranks. These are felonies." Brad opened his mouth. "Sir, my father." "Your father isn't here," Chief Carter interrupted, his tone icy. "Your status, your jackets, your excuses, they mean nothing. You tied my daughter to a tree." The color drained from Brad's face. The group stood paralyzed, their arrogance dissolving into horror. Chief Carter turned away, pulled out his radio, and spoke with calm precision. "Dispatch, this is Unit 1. I need multiple units at the high school athletic field. Code 3, multiple juvenile suspects, felony restraint and assault confirmed." Moments later, the distant wail of sirens filled the air. From inside the SUV, Ara watched her father coordinate the arrests. The bullies were cuffed. Their protests useless. Justice wasn't loud or violent, it was calm, precise, final. Later that night, their house was quiet. Ara sat wrapped in a blanket on the couch. The rope burns on her wrists were fading, but the fear still lingered. Her father sat beside her, silent but steady. "They're all being charged," he said quietly. "Their parents have lawyers. It'll get messy, but we'll see it through." Ara nodded, resting her head on his shoulder. "I was so scared, Dad." "I know," he whispered, his eyes heavy with both pain and pride. "But you were brave. And you survived. They saw your scar and thought it made you weak. They were wrong. It's a mark of strength." He hadn't spoken so openly about her mother or the accident since the move. And in that moment, something inside Ara began to heal. The shame she'd carried started to dissolve, replaced by quiet strength. The case shook Oak Creek. The bullies who once ruled the school lost everything: their scholarships, their reputations, their confidence. Brad, the leader, faced the harshest consequences. But justice didn't end in court. For Ara, it was in the way she began walking taller through the halls. It was in the small circle of friends who gathered around her. And for Chief Carter, it was in the respect the town finally showed him, and not for his title, but for his unshakable integrity. The old oak still stands at the edge of the field. No one ties anyone to it anymore. It's become a silent reminder that cruelty always underestimates the quiet strength of its victims. Sometimes, the most powerful justice doesn't roar. It arrives in silence, steady, unyielding, and unafraid. Months had passed since that day under the oak tree, the day Ara's father saved her, and the entire town of Oak Creek saw what real justice looked like. But peace never lasts forever. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Ara walked home from her part-time job at the local diner. The streets were quiet, too quiet. Every time she turned a corner, she felt that strange, cold sensation of being watched. At first, she brushed it off as paranoia. Then she heard the sound. Footsteps. Slow, careful, following. She tightened her grip on her bag and quickened her pace. When she reached her house, the porch light flickered on a broken bar, then went out. "Dad?" she called, stepping inside. No answer. The living room was dark except for the faint glow of a lamp in the corner. A folded newspaper lay on the table, a local teen sentenced in Oak Creek assault case. Beneath the headline was Brad Wilson's face. Ara's chest tightened. He'd been sentenced to 8 months in juvenile detention. Not long enough, her father had said. He'll be out by winter. And winter had just begun. Then a knock. 3 sharp raps on the door. She froze. Her father wasn't home yet. He was covering the night shift at the station. She reached slowly for her phone, her fingers trembling. Before she could call, a voice came from outside. "Calm, too calm." "Hey, Ara, it's me." Her blood ran cold. "Brad." She backed away from the door, heart pounding. "You shouldn't be here," she shouted. He chuckled. "Relax. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to talk." "You tried that on Sia with a rope." The doorknob rattled. "Ara," he said softly, his voice almost mocking. "People change." "Don't you believe in forgiveness?" She didn't answer. He sighed. "Fine, if you won't open the door, maybe I'll just wait until your dad comes home. Bet he'd love to see me again." At that moment, blue headlights swept across the living room wall at her father's SUV turning onto the driveway. Brad swore under his breath and ran. Ara yanked the door open just as her father stepped out of the vehicle. "Dad!" she cried. He was here. Brad. Chief Carter's face hardened instantly. His training kicked in. A flashlight, radio, sidearm. "Where?" He ran toward the woods. Carter took off without hesitation, his boots pounding the frozen dirt. The woods were silent except for the wind scraping through dead branches. Then a movement, a shadow slipping between trees. "Brad Wilson!" Carter shouted. "You're violating parole." "Stop." But Brad didn't stop. Carter chased him deeper until they reached the old oak tree, the same one where it all began. The moonlight poured through the branches like a spotlight. Brad turned, panting, eyes wild. "You think you can ruin my life and walk away? You ruined your own life," Carter said, voice steady. "Don't make it worse." Brad's expression twisted into something dark, not rage, but pain. "You took everything from me, my friends, my father's respect, My future. Carter's grip on his flashlight tightened. You tied my daughter to a tree. Brad's breath came out sharp and broken. And she still got everything. The town loves her now. They treat me like a monster. I just wanted her to feel what I felt. A snap echoed through the trees. Carter's instincts flared. He spun just in time to see a branch fall, striking Brad across the shoulder. The boy fell to his knees, crying out. Carter moved fast, pulling him out from under the branch, checking his pulse. You're lucky, he muttered. You'll live. Brad looked up through tears. Why'd you save me? Because I'm not like you, Carter said quietly. And because one day, maybe you'll learn that forgiveness doesn't mean escape, it means change. Brad lowered his head, the fight drained from his eyes. When backup arrived, Carter didn't speak another word. He just walked back toward the flashing lights, where Ara stood trembling under a blanket. She looked at him. Did you catch him? He nodded. Yeah, he's done running, for a long time. Neither spoke. Then Ara said softly, I'm not afraid of him anymore. Carter placed a hand on her shoulder. Good, he said. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, Ara. It's standing tall even when it comes back. The wind rustled through the oak branches above, whispering like the memory of everything they'd survived. And for the first time since that awful day, the night in Oak Creek felt peaceful again.